Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Expium's Jira Work Management for All webinar. So first off, I want to thank you for joining me today. I really hope that this webinar is valuable and worthy of your time and full of helpful information and example for you and your team. My name is Jason Kidner. I'm going to be your tour guide for the next hour or so. I am an enterprise solutions architect here at Expium. I'm also a SAFe program consultant, or SPC, and an Atlassian certified professional. So, and I'm also joined by my colleague, Kylie Braun. She's going to be monitoring the Q&A area and posting some helpful links as well. So thanks for joining me, Kylie. And before we kind of jump into the agenda, just wanted to say that if you didn't hear the good news, Expium and Valiantis joined forces at the end of 2022. So Expium, as you can see in the bottom left corner of this slide, Expium is now a Valiantis company. And what that really means for you is that our awesome team of experts just got bigger, okay? So, but we are now, you'll see this logo wherever you see Expium out on the web. So, all right, well, let's jump into the agenda here. It's a pretty simple agenda. We're going to go through some introductory thoughts. Then we're going to jump into some practical, like real life examples of how various types of teams are using different Atlassian products to help manage their work. And then at the end, we'll have some time for some Q&A. So be thinking about your questions, put them in the Q&A chat, and I will do my best to answer them. Also, at the end, we are going to be giving away a really cool power bank. This is a Mag Cube Pro power bank that goes on the back of your cell phone and charges the battery. It even has a cool little stand. So if you're watching something on an airplane, you can use it for that as well. So we are going to announce the lucky winner at the very end. So please stay on for the whole webinar, and we will, one of you will win that cool power bank at the end. Okay, so first off, just some introductory thoughts here. So despite the name of this webinar, we're not just going to be talking about the Jira Work Management product. Okay, that is a legitimate thing. We're going to focus on that, demo it at the beginning here. But over the next hour, I'm going to show you an array of tools and processes within those Atlassian tools that will help you and your teams work in a better way, no matter what type of team that you're on. So what does a better way to work really mean when I say that? So here's some thoughts. It means making work visible. Okay, so you and your teammates can all see what everyone else is doing. Okay. 2, having clear next steps in your work processes. Okay, so this will get into workflows, just making it really clear where is the work at from the beginning to completion. 3, making work collaborative. This is going to be kind of just, it's baked into the Atlassian tools, making work and teams collaborate well. So you're going to see that throughout this webinar. Number 4, using flexible tools that change as quickly as your environment changes. Okay, you're going to see, we're not going to go in depth about how customizable these Atlassian tools are, but they are very customizable, and you'll see just various examples of that that we're going to show later. And then lastly, shifting your mindset from doing more work in less time to generating more value with less work. Okay, I think that's a buzzword. Value is a huge buzzword. Flow, things like that. These are coming up over and over again, especially with Scaled Agile. But a lot of business, teams are thinking about how can we provide value to our customers, whether they're internal or external, and how can we just be better at getting that value through the pipeline to help whoever our customer is. So those are some thoughts on better ways to work. And then before we jump into examples, this is an important slide to just really highlight that people and processes and tools are key to whatever work you and your organization or your team are doing. Okay, these are all part of the mix, right? And I show them in this order for a couple reasons. So first off, people, they're foundational, right? To whatever you're doing, people are foundational and so important. And then that's followed by processes that focus on value and collaboration with those people. And then finally, you have these tools, ideally flexible tools that would support and not hinder your people and your processes. So I'm going to show a lot of things about tools, but tools can be incredibly helpful. Don't get me wrong, but tools cannot solve your people or your process problems. We run into that over and over again as we're working with various clients, where we end up getting into some of their deeper process things, or maybe there's people problems too. But tools, again, can be incredibly helpful. And we're going to show you now, we're going to turn our attention to the Atlassian ecosystem and the tools available from Atlassian that can really help teams, not just software or IT teams, like you might think, Atlassian, that's Jira, that's software teams. No, I'm going to show you that these tools can be helpful for any type of team. Okay, so this gets us to Atlassian. So I'm going to really focus on the tools here within Atlassian. They're a large company. I'm sure you might even have some of these tools already in your organization. They're very ubiquitous, and many companies might be using some form of these tools. So we often work with business teams who are ready to purchase Atlassian products, and then they're surprised to learn that their company already has them. Okay, and then from there, those teams just need to work with the tool administrators on how to customize the tools to meet their specific needs. But if you don't have them, these tools are really easy and inexpensive to set up, especially if you're using the cloud versions of these tools. You can start up free trials. Building is super easy, and you really don't need to get your vice president of procurement involved. So you can get up and running very quickly. So a few summaries around some of these tools. So they're all designed for teams to make teams collaborative, flexible, scalable. So first off, we're going to be looking at some of the Jira products. There's Jira Work Management, there's Jira Software, and there's also Jira Service Management. We're going to be looking at a little bit into each of these three products and to show how they help you plan work, track work, visualize work in various ways. We're also going to talk about Confluence, and I'll be showing you that. Confluence is a collaborative wiki-style documentation tool, and so it's great for creating documentation, also great for pointing you to other documentation wherever that might be on the internet. And then we also have Trello listed here. We're going to just touch on Trello very briefly. It is a board-centric tool that many different types of teams find valuable. Pretty simple board-centric tool. So again, we're going to look at all these in different ways today. And again, they're not specific modules of some like larger service. These are each unique products that you can choose to use or not use, and separate licensing and things like that. So it's up to you which of these might work for you and which may not. So with that, let's jump into practical examples. We have 5 practical examples that we're going to cover today. We're going to look at task management, then project management, hiring and onboarding, service desks, and then lastly, documentation, or just the centralization of information. So first off, we're going to look at, here we go, task management. So each of these, you're going to see a pattern. So who is the audience for this? Well, everyone, any type of team that's doing any sort of work, okay? So the problem that teams run into, what do we have to do? What's the work we have to do? Is everything up to date? Can we trust that this is up to date, or do we have to have a status meeting? 3, who is taking care of that particular work? Like, who's got their eye on the ball for that? Is it me? Is it somebody else? Okay, so the solution is, at a high level, central task management with multiple views. And again, moving away from spreadsheets that are on some person's computer that nobody really can see what's going on, to again, a shared collaborative view of the work. So we're going to look at, in particular for this, we're going to look at Jira Work Management. but the other Jira products could also help with this. So with that, I'm going to now switch from our slides to Jira. This is the cloud version of Jira. Okay, so I'm just in this main landing page of all the projects within this Jira Cloud instance. And I'm going to go into this accounting project. This is what we'll call a Jira Work Management project. It's also known as a business project within Jira. So when I come into here, there is a summary area. By the way, those of you who might have been used to using Jira in the past, the Jira business projects or work management projects have been redesigned over the past year. So the UI here and some of the features have been greatly changed. And as they're trying to woo more business teams to come into here, to move away again from just working in spreadsheets to working here where there's a lot of different types of views, including a spreadsheet view. So you start off, you have a summary page that is kind of an out-of-the-box dashboard with various things, status overviews around how the work is, various metrics basically around the work being tracked and managed in this project. Then you have a board visualization. This is pretty common in Jira. This is a little bit different than a Jira software project board. It's a little more simple, but the idea here is you have columns that represent the part of the work process or the workflow status of the work you're doing. And so you can see how much work is in each column. So basically the work in progress in any given state. And this is very easy to use. You can drag and drop. Each of these cards represents a different work item or what's called an issue within Jira. And so you can move these around. And you can also click on any one of them and it opens up what's called the Jira view screen, where you can see various fields filled out. You can see the workflow status, who's assigned to the work, all sorts of different things, links to potentially other apps that you have installed within your Jira instance. Okay, so you have this whole board that shows you how much work is happening in each part of the workflow. Then there's a list view. And again, this is where it looks a lot like a spreadsheet. It really essentially is a grid where you can see all your different work items here and various fields related to that are being stored on those work items. Again, Jira is just really a glorified database with lots of really cool visualizations on top. And you can edit these in line. So again, you can move out from a spreadsheet into here where there's a lot of other bells and whistles. And another one of these options or visualizations is the calendar. So based on the underlying start and due dates on each of the work items in the project, you can start to see a calendar view of when these various things are starting and when they're ending. So again, this might not be needed for everyone in your team, but some teams could really benefit from this. And they could see, again, there's some different, if I go back to the list view, there are some different levels of hierarchy within Jira. So you can have, just expand this a little bit and show you there's a out-of-the-box 3-level hierarchy of work items where you have what's called an epic at the very top. And then in this case, there's a task in the middle. So these epics can be broken down into tasks, and the tasks can then be broken down into subtasks. So you can have this basically like a family tree of work items to help organize your work. And we're going to see how this plays out as well in some other practical examples that we look at. But on the calendar, we can even see some of these higher level epics, which take longer. And then some of the tasks underneath that might take a day or 2 days, things like that. Let me jump over, oh yeah, let me look at the timeline. The timeline is essentially like a roadmap or a Gantt chart. Again, using those underlying date fields and values, you can see out here a timeline of when your work is being planned for with different colors around what is it in progress, is it finished, is it to do, things like that. So that could again come in handy for planning purposes. There's also a forms area here. This is really meant to help with intake for your teams. Like you can create a form that's essentially like a create screen that can be shared with other people within your organization that are also in Jira, and they can fill out and use this as an intake form for handling different things. This is a little bit different. It's not nearly as robust as what we'll see later with Service Desk and Jira Service Management, but it is a way that Atlassian's trying to help business teams to get to allow intake to their projects. I'm not going to go through the rest of these, but one last thing I'll say is there's an area here, Pages area. This is showing you the tight integration that Jira Work Management or the other Jira projects or types of projects have with Confluence, where you can quickly go back and forth with what are called pages over in Confluence, which we'll show you in the next example. But the idea here again is to show one type of tool, in this case Jira Work Management, that can be used for any sort of task management or centralized task management, and to help everybody see what's happening and who's assigned to it, when is it supposed to be done, things like that. Where is it in its workflow? All right, let's go back to our slides. Okay, so our next example is project management. So who is this for? Well, could be your PMO teams, but it could also be HR teams, marketing teams, legal teams, any type of team that manages projects. And the problem here is when you're managing projects or managing multiple projects like most teams would be doing, potentially simultaneously, it's often difficult to keep track of the work that's being managed within each of those projects, especially when there's many teams working and collaborating together. There might be many handoffs from one team to the next in order to achieve and to complete a given project. Some of these projects can be incredibly complicated, and can take a long time. So alignment or misalignment is a big problem. And alignment usually comes, alignment usually comes in the form of like standing meetings or manual status reports for you're like trying to meet and get updates and this from people, and your week becomes full of meetings, where instead you can look and use tools and have up-to-date current views on the project anytime you want it. You don't have to call a meeting to get an update. You can see it for yourself. So additionally, a lot of times these projects are managed, again, in Excel or in PowerPoint slides, which can make collaboration and visibility more difficult. And they need to be manually updated constantly. So those are some bits and pieces of the problem. Again, misalignment, delayed handoffs, manual status updates, missing information. So the solution at a high level is to make the project work visible and make it easily modified, and easy for sharing and automate reporting, so that when it's updated in one place, those real-time updates are then seen in other reporting mechanisms, as we'll see over in Confluence. So some of the tools here to solution this are some of the Jira tools. Again, could be Jira Work Management. In this case, I'm going to show a Jira software project, and then also Confluence, and we'll show how Confluence can integrate really nicely with the data over in Jira. Okay, so I'm going to jump back into our Jira instance. This time I'm going to go to the Marketing Project Management project. Now, this again is a software project. It's not a Jira Work Management project. So you're going to see it looks a lot different here. This is what a Kanban board looks like in these projects. This is very, very customizable, and you can do a lot of things with these boards in the software projects. So what you're seeing here, again, a very basic board of to do, in progress, and done. What I want to highlight here in this project is that the epics, that purple lightning bolt issue type or work item, is going to be used here for the projects, to manage the projects. So when you see that, you'll see in this case there's Project Alpha, Project Epsilon, Project Beta. These are all projects. Let me click into Project Alpha, and we'll see again how this is being managed. So at the project level, at this epic level in Jira, you have a number of fields. Again, there's just a lot of dummy data here, but there's fields around background, business objectives, scope, things like that. So these are more like multi-line fields. And then you can have a lot of smaller, more finite bits of information on these Jira work items. Over here around your dates, who's the people involved, who's the sponsor, who are the stakeholders, who's assigned to this project. Any number of fields can be customized on these issues. And then you can also see the children issues. In this case, there's a lot of tasks that make up, that are smaller bits of work that need to be accomplished in order to deliver or complete the project. And there's milestones as well as children of this project. Okay, so there's a lot. What you're seeing here is that Jira is ultimately becoming the source of truth for the project, so that users are over here updating information, keeping track of where it is in its workflow, decomposing it into smaller tasks that need to be accomplished and assigned out to different people or potentially even different teams. Okay, and then in addition to Jira, this information as the source of truth can then be pulled into Confluence. And that's where I'm going to shift to next, where Confluence can be that main reporting area for your teams and for the audiences that need to see updates for those projects. So I'm going to switch over from Jira over to Confluence. Okay, I'm not going to go into depth about these projects, but Confluence is made up of what are called spaces. And within those spaces are what are called pages. And those pages can all be organized within page hierarchies. So you have like parent pages and children pages. And what I want to highlight here is this is, again, a marketing space that aligns with that marketing project in Jira. And we have a whole project dashboard area. So I am showing you this project alpha. So if we've created a page for that project alpha that's represented as the epic in Jira. And what we've done is we've built around a whole page or dashboard for this project. And some of this stuff, again, is living in Confluence. It's not being pulled from Jira, like a calendar, a team calendar, where the team can kind of put an update like when they're off or when there's special events coming up or trainings or deployments, things like that. So that shows here, that's stored in Confluence. But then you also have bits and pieces over here of things in Confluence, but also things like project details that are actually being pulled from Jira, from fields over in Jira. And as we scroll down further, there's an update on the work, the status of work. So we can see a list of the work in progress. This is essentially a filter pulling from the underlying tasks of this epic over in Jira. So it's showing the current work that's in progress or to do. There's even some chart visualizations you can use, like a pie chart. Then we also see completed work, a filter for that. So over in Jira, when let's say task 3 goes from in progress to done, when that person who's ever doing it updates that, when this page is refreshed, you'll see an absolute current up-to-date listing of the current work and the completed work again. So anytime people could see in real time where things are at. You can also, over here, you can note that the milestones are set aside in a special place as well. And then this also brings in some of the other fields from the Jira epic. And if anything changes in Jira, it will be reflected real time in Confluence. And there's ways to put attachments and other things where Confluence, again, could be the source of truth for some of this. But you have essentially here one place for a dashboard for the project that is pulling stuff from within Confluence, but also bringing stuff in real time from Jira. And the last thing to note here is, again, this marketing team is managing multiple projects, which is fairly typical. And so perhaps there needs to be other stakeholders that need to see an update about all these. There could be something like we've designed here called a project dashboard, which is essentially pulling in lots of data from all these underlying pages into one place where this could be potentially used in a meeting or just could be used at any time. Any stakeholder could come and see, how's Project Alpha doing? What are the statuses? And you can see the statuses for each of the projects. And again, each of these is pulling stuff from Confluence, some updates in Confluence, but also some underlying data coming from Jira. And you can see all that in one place. And then there's even an inline view of what's called an advanced roadmaps plan. This is coming from Jira. Again, it's a different way of viewing, kind of a more advanced way of showing a roadmap plan for, in this case, these projects. So again, showing that tight integration between Confluence and Jira. Okay, so we highlighted project management, again, using Jira software and Confluence to help manage projects and to visualize those. So before we get to our last three examples, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Again, just to highlight that Expium, we are a Valiantis company now. We are an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner, and we provide expert services within the Atlassian ecosystem. So these services, there's a number of services we provide. So you can see on this slide, we provide training. Okay, we do a lot of custom training that can be private. We also have a number of public training options, which I'll show you some of those coming up at the end of this webinar. We have these webinars that you're joining. We have these throughout the month. We also have Jira boot camps, Confluence boot camps, Jira service management boot camps, where we keep growing our offerings for trainings. We could do training on essentially any of the Atlassian products if your organization needs anything like that. We also do consulting. So again, we have a team of experts on all the suite of Atlassian products. So whatever that looks like for your organization, meaning maybe implementing it from the very beginning, or coming in and tweaking it or cleaning it up, or adding some special or a new product into the mix, we can help you with any of your Atlassian needs. We also have some really, really amazing custom development folks in-house. So any customized solutions that you might need, whether it's an add-on to a product or a custom integration using the APIs or a whole custom front end for your organization, we can absolutely pretty much do anything. Nothing is impossible. And so we have a lot of great technical and expert folks in-house. One thing this slide doesn't highlight is that we also provide licensing support for Atlassian products at no cost. So if you need help with even just licensing, we can absolutely help be a great, provide great services for that. And we have wonderful channels and a great partnership and relationship with Atlassian as well. Okay, enough about us. Let's go on to our final three examples. So our third example is hiring and onboarding. So who is this for? Well, again, and it could be an HR team, but it could be any team who has an onboarding process, okay? And the problem here, I mean, everyone has unique needs and onboarding process needs that will gradually or quickly change over time. We are going to highlight here one particular example of a client that we had, an insurance client company that had some pretty big pain points around onboarding. So this example is really highlighting some of the stuff we did for an actual client. So this insurance company, they had to hire thousands of people each year to be agents, various tier 1, tier 2 agents within the company. And so they had to know how full their pipeline was on bringing so many of these people on board. They had to coordinate onboarding tasks across multiple teams. They had to sync the onboarding process with external systems outside of Jira. And they also had to make sure they were meeting insurance industry compliance. Okay, so there were a lot of things that they were thinking about and requirements they had. And they happened to be stuck on spreadsheets, which again was making collaboration, making visibility very difficult. So the solution at a high level was a tailored workflow that provided clear next steps, as well as automatically validating information, having a lot of automation built in to create tasks downstream in the whole onboarding process. There were guardrails put into place with this workflow to meet compliance standards. And there was also just a lot of updating of external systems. So a lot of integrations with other tools. And there was also a reporting dashboard to show where everyone was in the process. So let me show you a little bit about what we built. This might inspire you. Let's see, let's go back here into Jira. So I'm going to go to another project within Jira called the Onboarding project. Again, this is another Jira software project like we looked at earlier. So you can see here we have another Kanban board that has various columns for various workflow statuses. Each of the cards here represents a work item, and in this case, the work items are the people being onboarded. And as we click into one of these, again, this is highlighting, this is the tier 1 onboarding. I'll show you quickly the tier 2 in a few moments. But here's a particular person, Florence, who's going through the onboarding process. And so this has different information about Florence. And in particular, what we're going to focus on is the workflow. Okay, so I'm going to click on here. Florence happens to be in the training status of the workflow. And as I click on this, I can also view the workflow. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth. Okay, so the workflows within Jira are made up of what are called statuses. Those are those lozenges you see here. And then the lines in between the various statuses are called transitions. So at a very high level, statuses are where you're doing your work, okay? And transitions are where Jira, you really can leverage Jira to do a lot of work and do a lot of automation, okay? So what we see here in this workflow is, imagine somebody's coming brand new into this company, they're being recruited, eventually they're being hired or scheduled to come on board. They are trained in order to do the work that they've been hired for, as whatever that might look like. They also then would go through some peer mentoring as they start to do their work and be gradually brought into more and more things into their role. And then eventually they kind of come through that whole onboarding pipeline and they're good to go. So that would be like the happy path. But there's also things that can happen. They might withdraw and decide they don't want to work for the organization. They might not show up, or they might be terminated. They just might not be a good fit for this particular role. So there's various different paths that onboarding process could take. And you'll see up here, there's even a special transition about requesting a termination. So what you're not really seeing on like behind the scenes here is a lot of automation can be built into each of these workflow transitions from one status to the next. You can add in different validations where you maybe an approval process has to be in place, where certain things have to be lined up or approval has to be made in order for a particular, in this case, a person onboarding to go from one status to the next. There could also be automation built in where when they go from one status to the next, it triggers some new tasks downstream where they have to potentially have a laptop ordered for them or a phone or whatever equipment they need to do their job. That can be set up and be organized and be assigned to users so that when they reach a certain part of the workflow, everything's ready for them to be able to do what they're being asked to do. And there could also be, again, special integrations with other outside tools like an HIRS, things like that, that could be integrated. Lots of really, really cool out-of-the-box automation opportunities within Jira. It's really, really, they've really just added some really great features, lots of opportunities to do automation. So you're getting a sense of how you can see where users are at. You can put a lot of automation and even integrations with other outside tools within these workflows. So, and then as you can see here again on this board, anybody could come in and go, okay, we have 3 people scheduled. We have 1 person in training. We have 2 people in peer monitoring. So you can get a sense of how many people are in each part of the workflow. And before we go on to the next example, just to highlight, again, you can have different workflows for different parts, different types of onboarding within your company. So this is for tier 2 onboarding. I guess tier 2 would maybe be a little more specialized type of agent that needs to be a little more experienced or have a little more training. So if we click into one of these, you can see there's more statuses in this onboarding workflow. As we click in here, let's view this. This is going to be a little bit more involved, but the overall pieces are in place with statuses and transitions. But you can see again, for tier 2, it was more involved, where there was testing involved. They had to pass a test or be certified in something. More advanced training, again, peer monitoring, eventually they're good to go. But again, the same things could happen where they could withdraw or potentially be terminated. So again, any type of onboarding process that you have can have its own unique workflow and be customized. And all that can be managed within one project or potentially multiple projects, depending on what makes the most sense. All right, so that was, again, one particular example of an onboarding process that you don't have to use spreadsheets for. You can have it be much more manageable, visible, with lots of cool automations within Jira. Okay, our next example is with service desks. So you might hear service desks and think IT or equipment or whatever that might look like, but really service desks can be for any type of team, okay? If you think about it, like almost any type of team, HR, marketing, facilities, legal, anybody, any type of team typically has some sort of customer, whether they're an internal customer or an external customer. They're doing work, they're being asked to do work for typically some people or teams outside of their own team, okay? So most types of teams could be considered a service team, even though they may not feel like it, okay? So many different, and the problem here is could be no clear prioritization, right? There could be all sorts of different channels for intake, like emails could come into your team. Your boss says, I need such and such done. There could be a doorway conversation if you're back in person. You might get a call from somebody that says, hey, I need this done. But how does all that get into one central place that can be managed, where you can prioritize that, where everybody can see what's the work being done, what's the most valuable thing that we need to do next, who's responsible for this, okay? That gets really hard when you have all these different intake channels, okay? So the solution, again, is a service desk with clear intake channels and forms, a queue that can be prioritized, potentially lots of different types of automation to update who's assigned to that, and also self-help knowledge articles. Atlassian's even starting to bring in AI into service desks as well. I'm not quite ready to show that. I don't think we're quite set up for that yet, but that is coming. That was announced at their Teams event last month in Las Vegas. So we're going to jump in and show tools. In particular, we're going to show Jira Service Management and some of the nuances it has. It has some special integration with Confluence. So we're going to go back over. And in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight that this instance of Jira has Jira Service Management. And what Jira Service Management brings in is what's called a portal or a help center that could be accessible by your internal users of Jira, your internal employees or customers, but you can also make this visible and accessible by your outside customers. And you don't have to pay for your customers, for licensing for your customers with JSM, just for your agents that are actually using the JSM tools. So here we have, in this case, our Expium Help Center. And there's a number of things to highlight here. There is some help where if users come here and they start to type in maybe something that they need help with, maybe a name change for themselves, they are going to be provided with some articles, some knowledge-based articles. These articles are actually stored in Confluence, so there's this tight integration between JSM and Confluence to potentially provide suggestions that would ideally deflect the need for a service ticket to be opened. So there's some, that's one example of how users can type in things and JSM is going to try to help them without a ticket. There's also, again, lots of different self-help options, different FAQs, things like that you could put out in your help center. Again, these are all going to be coming from Confluence. And then we scroll down and we see actual service desk projects. So you can have a different project for your different teams and your service desks. In this case, I'm going to go into the HR service desk and highlight that some of you might have gone on to Atlassian or other types of service desks that were employing JSM, and you might be used to seeing this UI. But these are different request types that you're just allowing for your employees or whichever type of customer you have to choose from. So I'm going to click into this employee onboarding option to highlight that you can, just as a project owner or project administrator for just this particular JSM project, you can craft some really cool forms that you don't need to rely on the administrator of the whole instance of Jira. You can do so many things just as the project admin. And so this is just highlighting many different types of fields that can be added to these forms. There's conditionality that can be added in here. This is just one example, again, of how cool you can make these forms for intake. But what I want to highlight here, I'm going to go back to the service desk options. I'm just going to choose a really basic, a question. I'm going to choose the question request type. And I'm going to say, let's see, where can I find the company holiday list? And I'll just keep it simple and paste this into the description. You can see there are these are all required fields. They have a little red star. So I need to fill out some of these to be able to submit this. So I've got it all filled out. Again, JSM is trying to look at my summary here, and it's trying to help me out if it can look up some keywords, things like that. But I'm going to go ahead and submit this, click send. And I see, again, I have my customer hat on here, and I see the view from a customer as the customer on this ticket. We'll call it a ticket that I've submitted to this HR service desk. I see it has a particular ID. So I see that over here. As the person logged into this portal, I can also click up here and see all the requests that were created by me or maybe other people that had added me onto their request. I can see approvals. If you can set up approval processes within JSM. So, but as I'm over here, I'm also just going to show you what it looks like from the agent point of view. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this issue key, and now I'm jumping back into JSM, but now I'm also logged in. I'm an agent here as well. So behind the scenes within the HR service desk project, here as an agent who's handling this particular ticket, I can see different things that came in from the portal. Again, this was a very simple ticket. I can see anything else that may have been filled in by automation. And I can get some different knowledge-based articles that could help me to solve this problem or to help me to know, exactly what to do with this ticket. The agent can respond internally with other agents, or they can reply to the customer and engage in a conversation with the customer. And the customer would see that in the portal, and the customer could then reply in the portal, or the customer is also going to get emails, and they can reply on those emails. So there's always an up-to-date notion, both on the agent side and on the customer side, of where this is at in the workflow. As you update the workflow, the customer is going to see that update. And ultimately, you're working together, collaborating, and eventually to try to resolve whatever is being asked for. So again, there's some really cool visualizations here. And if we go back actually into the queue, what are called queues here in JSM, you can see a list, a filtered list of the various tickets that have come in. These can be arranged in different ways, and these can be prioritized. As you can see over here, there's time to resolution. So there's SLAs built in, a lot of cool features around SLAs to help your teams to just get better at responding to tickets and resolving tickets. So a lot of cool things. Again, as you can see here, doesn't have to just be for IT. Any type of service team within your organization could potentially make use of this and have a really cool portal, and to be able to allow their people on the back end to respond, and to everybody to see who's handling which ticket and where is it at. So a lot of great features here for JSM. All right. We are now getting close to near the end of our time together. This is our last example. It's centralized knowledge. Okay, so this is a very kind of generic example, but it's important, right? This applies to everyone. Okay, any team that needs to be able to have information to share within their own team, or potentially to other parts of the organization, that other parts will know what their team's doing, potentially have insights into what's happening, or it might just be just a centralized knowledge base for your own team. Okay, and the age-old problem with information is, where do I find the information? I have this question, I know somebody's documented it, where in the world is it? And is that information up to date? Can I trust that it really is the latest and greatest and will help me do my particular job? So, and then the solution at a high level, again, we're going to focus on Confluence. That's, again, that wiki-style documentation tool, organization tool that Atlassian provides. So, I'm going to show some other potential things with Confluence. So I'm going to go back into Confluence. I'm going to stay in this marketing space within Confluence. And in this case, we're going to skip over those project-related pages that we had earlier. And I'm going to go to this team homepage. So again, within Confluence, you can organize your spaces in various ways. In this case, imagine that this space is a marketing team space. So at the very top is a homepage that your landing page for this space, and this would say everything about your marketing team, what you're doing, what your motto is, the latest updates. This shows the latest pages that have been updated within the space, when they were updated, who updated them. You can also put other information out here about where to find us. And what you're seeing here is the ability to put in like quick links within Confluence. Again, these are wiki-style pages, really, really robust, and lots of cool macros and other things. But you can just put in links to other parts of the internet, to LinkedIn, to the Expium.com website. You can put those in here. You can meet the team and put different things about the users that are in Confluence, that are part of this team. I touched on the calendar. This is called the team calendars for Confluence. This comes with Confluence Premium, where you have that ability. Over here, again, a lot of different ways to point people in the right direction. This might be pointing people to another page within Confluence, or it might be pointing people to some other tools you're using, again, on the internet. But basically, Confluence can be that one beginning place to go, where you're maybe not quite sure where to get to it, but you can come here and you're pointed in the right direction. Okay, so there's that ability, again, to have a team page with lots of links. As I scroll down here, a couple other things to highlight. Click on this new product plan page. The idea here is there's a lot of what are called smart links within Confluence, where there's collaboration with a growing list of other SaaS products, cloud-based products. So in this case, we use Miro a lot internally at Expium. So we have, in this case, a marketing demo board within Miro. So I can paste that Miro link within a Confluence page, and Confluence sees it, recognizes it, and it shows Miro inline. Now I had to log into Miro eventually to really interact with this. But you can see this inline view, so I don't have to go over to Miro and swivel chair. I can see it directly in line. So that's one example of a smart link. Go to another page to show you another example. Here's an example again. We're the marketing team. We're getting ready for a trade show in Las Vegas this year. And our team, maybe we don't use Jira. Maybe we just use Trello to help keep track of getting ready for the next event coming up. So here, again, we're seeing the tight integration between Confluence and in this case, Trello, where we have this trade show prep board with lots of tasks and where they're at, potentially who might be assigned to them. So the team can come over here, quickly see, and they could even click on here, or I can even interact with this in line. I don't have to go over and open up a Trello browser tab. I can just work with it right here. So again, visibility, sharing, collaboration, you're seeing it all here in Confluence. Lastly, we'll click on this ad pricing page. This is meant to, again, just to show some smart link opportunities. In this case, it's showing smart links for Google Drive, where you could come over here and see quickly, oh, these are the ad prices. This is our policy. I could see it in line, where I don't actually have to click through into G Drive. So there's some opportunities, again, lots of cool opportunities with smart links. But again, the overarching thing here is a centralized place for knowledge. It might not store everything, but it's at least one place to go to, and then you might go off into other places. But it's a one place where I know, where do I start? Oh, I'm going to go there, and from there I can search or I can find what I need, and the team can really collaborate well. And as we saw earlier, there's some cool integration with Jira and with other Atlassian products, and even other non-Atlassian products as well. All right, so we are getting close to the end of our time. As we wrap up here, just wanted to highlight that again, we're just taking a couple different examples, real life examples of how we've worked with clients to solve different work management issues they've had. So this idea of Jira Work Management for All, it's not just that product, it's using various Atlassian products to help your people, to help your processes, to provide more value, to work smarter, okay, work better as teams, okay? And so let me get to this final slide. If it will stay, there we go. So really thank you for joining. I'm gonna answer any questions that come up here. Before I answer those questions, I wanna highlight that we do have upcoming webinars and classes. This is just a screenshot from our expium.com website that you can find a lot more about these and can register for our upcoming classes. So you can see a full list here over the next 2 months. Lots of great opportunities to learn, and most of these are free. Some of the boot camps, obviously, they're not free. Those are public 1 or 2 or 3 day classes that you can find out pricing and sign up for those. But a lot of great opportunities here. If you have questions too that you want answered offline, you can see here my email address, jason.kidner@expium.com. There's also a QR code for LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile. You can reach out to me as well on LinkedIn. So, but before we answer questions, it is time. You've all been waiting patiently for the giveaway announcement for this power bank. Those of you who weren't here at the very beginning, we are giving away this power bank, and the lucky winner today is Julia McKesson, okay? Julia McKesson, hopefully you're still on. I think Kylie's gonna put something in the chat where the winner, please email Kylie to receive your prize. Kylie, are you putting that into the chat? Wonderful, yes, Kylie, you are amazing. You've put that in. So Julia, please reach out to Kylie, email her to know, to tell her where we can send this cool power bank. So congratulations on winning that. So let me check here for any questions that any of you have had. Okay, so one of the questions is does Expium offer training on the tools that you've shown today? And the answer is yes, yes, yes. We do provide training for Jira software. We have a boot camp, a 3-day boot camp. We have training around Jira Service Management. Again, Jira Service Management is built on the foundation of Jira software and Jira Work Management, but it has many, many different features that don't come with software, and lots of configuration, lots of ways to customize the portal and the agent views and things like that, and automation. So we have a 2-day class for Jira Service Management. We have a 1-day class for Confluence called our Confluence Bootcamp. We also have an Introduction to Confluence webinar that you can sign up for free. And yeah, if you have any other questions about training, again, you can look at our website or reach out to me. And then one other question here is, how can I find out what our organization already has, what products that our organization already has? So again, we could help you to find that out. Hopefully you would potentially know within your organization who the IT team is or who the tools administrator teams are. And you could ask around and find out. You could also ask us. We could find out if your organization has licensing with Atlassian and which particular licenses you have, which products you have. So, and either way, if there's a need or an interest in help in setting up any of these tools, or a help in just thinking through how best to use those tools, yeah, please reach out to us. We would love to help. So, okay, I think that's it. That's all the questions we have today. Again, thank you very, very much for attending. I hope you have found this valuable and at least learned something along the way around either the tools or maybe some processes or ways to think about working for your own teams. And really appreciate you coming. Again, sign up. If you, this also will be recorded, and you can go to our Expium YouTube channel down shortly, and this will be up. There's other recordings of other webinars and other various things we want to share with the world about Atlassian that you can also benefit from on our YouTube channel. So with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your days, and we look forward to seeing you on another Expium webinar in the future. Thanks everyone, take care.